Today's guest is an actress, writer, and producer, best known for her role as Ashley in the Pitch Perfect franchise. Please welcome to the Zoom, Shelley Regner. Hello! How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I am so good. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so happy to be here. It's great to see you in the virtual space.
I know. We always start off with how we met. And we met back in 2020.
Is that right?
Yeah. Which is pretty wild that we were able to meet and do that class in person.
Right?
I was
Because I
thinking
think
about
we were still, doing precautions and mask safety but
that.
it was just so nice to actually even be with people
I
in
know. Yeah.
the moment. Wow, that's wild. Yeah, I did a master class, a musical theater master class,
Yes.
and you were wonderful.
Thanks. Thank you. I remember really enjoying that class and really being inspired by your story. And from then I was like, ooh, she has to be a guest. She has to be a guest.
I'm so glad to be. Yeah, it also inspired me too. I never thought I'd be in like a quote unquote teacher role
Yeah.
or be the person. I'm always happy to answer questions, but I was like, I never want to teach. I just want to act and I just want to perform. Like I don't want to be in the teacher role. Don't make me do that. But then I remember, like professors in college that they had worked on television before and things like that. And I went to college at LSU in Louisiana. And I remember my acting professor being like, I get as much out of this as my students do. Like I learn from you. And I feel like I understand what he means now when I sort of come in and maybe do these master classes and I see this young group of hungry actors and performers and excited and passionate performers. As someone who's been in the industry for 10 years, where as it and no matter how long you maybe have been in the industry, you can get sort of jaded or get disappointed and run down, and to be in a room full of that energy, of especially that young energy where it's just passion and excitement, is so inspiring. So I was as much inspired by all of you.
I'm sure it brings you back in touch with your younger self almost too, right?
Yeah, it does. It was, that's how we start in this, right? Like I started in like musical theater camp. To be honest, I was actually a very shy child, if you can believe it. And I have an older sister, and she's 4 years older than me, and she was the performer of the family, like the family Christmases and
Yeah.
any gathering. Like she's the comedian of the family. We were always like, Lauren, you've got to go try out for Saturday Night Live. Like
Wow.
she just had that extrovert personality. And I really think, I always say, she was one of my biggest inspirations to just kind of pull me out of my shell, because we were a little duo our entire lives. But I was like always a prop for her. She'd be like, well, let me dress you up and I'm gonna be the doctor, you're gonna be my patient. Or, she would create scenarios
Yeah.
and imaginative worlds for us. And I think maybe just through playing with her, and that was always such a wonderful memory as a child, where she brought that into school plays and on the stage. And I would watch her have so much fun and make these new friends, where I would always just I was the little sister syndrome, where I was like, well, I just want to be a part of it. Let me play.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with it, through that. So I really attribute a lot of that to my older sister.
Is she still acting?
She does. So she's still in Louisiana, and she does it more just, for fun. I think it is a different mindset to want to delve into this as a profession.
Yeah, for sure.
It's sometimes it can kind of take the fun energy out of it when you start creating looking at it as a business
Yeah.
instead of just like a fun side hobby. So she still does perform in her community, and very much is still her extroverted comedy self. But I don't think she wanted to take it in the business route. I think she, wants to keep it in the like, I just like to do this for
Yeah.
me.
And
Yeah,
that's wonderful too.
absolutely.
So you're from Louisiana.
I am born and raised.
When did it go from playing with your sister to this is something I could see myself doing forever?
Oh, I'll tell you the exact moment.
It was Monday at 12.
I mean, the time and date, I was in math class in high school. Not far off though. I took a trip with my mom to New York when I was 17. And it was my first time in the city. And of course, I grew up as a musical theater kid and loved to sing and dance. And so we went to see Wicked for the first time. We saw
What's your
Spring.
alphabet? Do you remember?
I don't remember. No, I just remember I was just like, I'm just so happy to be here that like everything else went amiss.
Yeah.
I saw Spring Awakening in its original run, and it was all the original cast, and we actually saw Jonathan Gallagher Jr.'s final performance.
Wow.
It was electric in that room. And I think I'm getting chill bumps right now. I think that was the moment for me because I was 17 years old. I was watching performers of my age. I just was like that I'm so moved. We didn't realize it was his last performance and his family's like sitting right behind us. Like we figured this all out in hindsight because
Oh my.
we were like, everyone is getting so into this and they're so emotional and this is why and the cast was just bawling their eyes out, and then of course he comes out, takes his final bow, and when we realized the weight of the evening, then my mom and I start bawling, and we were like, that's the power of live theater. I think
Yes.
that's what I
Yes.
didn't realize when I was 10 years old in the talent show. That is what I
Yes.
was feeding off of, but it all kind of made sense in that moment. And I got home from this New York trip and I went back to literally, like, I went back to math class and I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I, I get it. I'm sure I need numbers along the lines, but I want to do what those people were doing in New York. I want to be on stage and singing and dancing and telling a story and being moved to these emotional depths.
Yeah.
And so that was the moment, it was my senior year. And it was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I absolutely, and I don't care how crazy it sounds.
Yeah.
Being from Louisiana, I'll figure it out.
We don't know who we're impacting, especially through the screen, right? Because at least when you're on stage, you can see the people who are in the audience.
Yeah.
But when you're on screen, you can be that reason for someone across the world.
Yeah, it's wild. I think honestly, it's such a powerful statement. I think I haven't even realized the weight of that
Yes. Yeah.
in general because, I'm still in this stage in my career where I've done wonderful work and amazing credits, but I'm still climbing in my own sense. I still have so much more that I want to accomplish for myself while still being grateful for what I've already accomplished.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful reminder, and thank you for saying that, where especially as actors and especially in this hustle of, oh, you're only as good as your next job, or it's always about the next job and blah blah blah, where you do have to remember to sit and be present and say, I'm doing what 10-year-old me, what 12-year-old me dreamed about in
Yes.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana, watching bootleg, like ripped audio
Yeah.
from different Broadway shows, where it was like, oh, we weren't supposed to do it, but I just needed it so badly. You can get so laser tunnel vision where you're just like, I'm not thinking about people across the world, but that's absolutely true. And it makes, I don't know, makes you breathe a little bit deeper where you're like, I
Yeah.
guess I am doing something cool, but that's not the first thought you think of.
I think it's a gift to have our passion, and then it's a privilege to have the opportunity to fulfill it. What
Absolutely.
would you say is your why as an artist?
Oh, interesting. I feel like it's sort of ebbed and flowed, as I've gotten older. In my teen years and in my college years, it was just all about having fun and, chasing what made me happy. And I think that's probably for a lot of us how it should start,
Yeah.
because if you're not having fun and chasing what makes you happy, then like what's the point, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
But more recently in the last couple years, where as you start to check off these things where you're like, well, that was a bucket list dream of mine. I've done things on stage, I've done things on the big screen. Like, these were my dreams, and honestly, I didn't think I'd check them off as quickly as I did.
Yeah.
So now why?
Yeah.
you know and it really, for me, I love to bring joy to people in whatever way that can be, and I love making people laugh and smile, because that was the gift that I was given when I was young and watching these performers, whether on stage or on screen. I mean, since I can remember, I was always so enthralled with the TV screen. I'm sure my mom was like, I can't get this girl unglued to the TV. She needs to
Yeah.
go run outside. But it wasn't just a pastime for me. I was actually invested in the voices and the performance and the storyline as like a 4-year old. My why now is I want to bring that feeling to other people. And right now it is, especially with what's going on in our world and our society alone. I'd love to be part of stories and to be a part of projects that kind of fulfill that moment of escapism for people, where you can just kind of forget about whatever part of your day that was hard, or whatever, if you just need a break.
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that, like 1 to 2 hour break for you, that reminds you to go, you know what, I can smile and laugh through this. I am strong enough to go through the rest of my day, just because I needed that moment.
I just saw the Prom on tour this past week,
Oh,
and there's a song. What?
it's in town in LA.
Hmm. There's a song called "We Look to You." I don't know if you're familiar with it, but I just think it is the most beautiful tribute to performers, and it's exactly what you just said about we provide that escape, and I think the pandemic really proved that too, because all of us turned to art. The artists themselves turned to art, right?
Yeah, nothing else to do. Yeah.
I think we must remember along this journey how much of a gift it is to have these passions.
Yeah.
And it's like not everyone's soul is lit up by sitting in a theater, which blows my mind. I'm like, how do you not?
I know. You're like, wait, hold on. Knock, knock. Anyone home?
Who were your role models growing up?
Oh, wow. Well, obviously, I talked about my older sister. She was more of that direct role model in my life. But as far as performers, I would say, oh my goodness, that's a great question. I'm trying, because it's like, I will tell you my favorite actor, who
Mhm.
I don't think he was probably my role model growing up, but in college, I really started diving into his work, is Robert De Niro.
Okay.
So, probably in my late teens, he started to be the one where I was like, how do you do that?
Hmm.
I, I'm just blown away. And of course, Meryl, like the big ones. It was people that I would see, truly the people that weren't the star names. It was the people that would come to my city on the Broadway tours and give the performance of a lifetime, and I'd be sitting in my hometown going, that I love that. I remember as a kid we went to Dollywood in Tennessee,
Uh-huh.
and there was a some kind of like rodeo western show, and they had these can dancers and all different colors. And I remember, I couldn't tell you why this is like a core memory for me, but I looked at my mom and I was like, the yellow one. It was this beautiful woman in this yellow dress. Her light just shone for me. You know how you always watch someone and
Yeah.
you're like, that, you've got it, that person. And I didn't know what that meant at such a young age, but it was just like, I don't know her name. I don't know who she is, but she is serving right now. And she is giving this 8-year-old the performance of my life, and like I got to go meet her after the show and take a picture. And so I really think growing up it was those people that I would just watch perform, have that unexplainable X factor, that light where it was like, whatever they're taking, I want some of it. And it was the more attainable of like, if she can do it, if he can do it, then I think I could maybe do it. As far as like muses I was always looking up to, it wasn't even like actors per se. I love Destiny's Child and like Beyonce. And I would just like sit in my room and watch music videos and watch these amazing performances. And, it's like when MTV actually had music.
Yeah.
And so it was just, those were the things that inspired me. But the people I looked up to were kind of the direct connection of, they would come to my hometown and
Yeah.
show me what the possibility was.
Right. That's why I love stage dooring because after you're transported, you get to see these human beings up close and you're like, wait, maybe I can do it too.
What you were saying earlier of that gift that you give, it's the people that are the most unsuspecting
Hmm.
that probably give the biggest gift, where, because I think we all tend to look at ourselves of like, well, who cares about me, or what do I really have to offer? I'm not a name, or I'm not Meryl Streep, I'm not Amy Adams, or whoever, your giant star name is. But that's not the case at all. We all have a gift to offer, and you don't know which 8-year-old is sitting in the audience, or watching your movie in the audience, or watching your YouTube channel and going, cool, they said I could do it. It's always about the first step. It's about, you got to be able to and be willing to try it
Hmm.
first before you go anywhere else.
I think when those voices come in, that's not even our voices, that's just society or from social media, and we have to then look back. My dad
Yeah.
was just saying this earlier, we have to look back to our inner child. And like you said, before it was a business, before it was a job,
Yep.
before it was a competition, when we just performed for our neighbors when they didn't ask, right?
Yes.
You know,
Because we all did.
we all did, right? Have you done The Artist's Way?
No,
Haven't? Have you heard of it?
I haven't. No, please tell me, educate me.
Yeah, it's this incredible book by Julia Cameron, all about getting back to your inner child. It's transformative. It is like it's a 12-week course. I will preach it from the rooftops. It's absolutely incredible.
I completely agree with that. I will definitely pick up a copy of that. It is all about your inner child. As artists and people that perform, we do have to, I think we have a huge responsibility
Yeah.
to connect back to that, because I think that's kind of, art is always a mirror of a reflection of society. But I think now more than ever, we've got generations, both, older and younger, that we're so connected, yet we're so disconnected in this moment in time, that if you're not connected to little you
Hmm.
inside, and you're not checking in, and and I did this myself. It's taken me years of work to, because I just shoved that part of me to the back. It was like, we have things to do, we have goals to accomplish, go sit down. And how it ruminated for me was, I started having panic attacks because my little child was like, you're not listening to me,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
you're not giving me my space
Yep.
to have any emotions or to feel anything. You're just
Yeah.
pushing me down, shoving me to the side. And if you think of that in like a tangible person, if you actually did that to a niece or nephew or any child, where you just go, no, you go sit over there, that's not going to end well for anyone,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I thank you for that recommendation, but now more than ever, I fully believe in that soul searching, and that making sure you're taking care of that little you that's inside.
That's all The Artist's Way.
I mean, well, great. I wrote the book.
I also think what you're saying about those voices that come in about I'm not this, I'm not this, that's just unproductive and a disservice to our purpose and our art. You don't know how many people you're reaching because not everyone's gonna. Did you tell the actor in what show is it? Spring Awakening?
Spring Awakening. Yeah.
Did you tell him how that was your moment of discovery?
No.
Right.
You know what I said?
What?
'Cause we did the stage door, and I met Jonathan Groff, and I told him he was the sexiest person I'd ever seen.
Wait, and you were 17. I thought you were 8, and I was like,
Like,
wow.
what did you say? You've inspired me to want to be an actor. I was like, no, I was just trying to get my first kiss, and I didn't know that Jonathan Groff wasn't attracted to my type of person.
My gosh. But can you imagine, like, think about if your performance in something was their reason for pursuing this?
And it's weird though, because I actually watched, have you seen the HBO documentary of Those You've Known? It's the Spring Awakening
It's on my
documentary.
list. Yeah.
I mean, because I grew up in that show and it obviously has such a special place in my heart. Seeing their journey and having that behind the resume story, right? And knowing that like we were so close in age where you are inspired by these people, but they're also going, I'm just trying to have fun and I just went to this audition after I got out of college or while I was still in college and it was my first job. No one's thinking in that age about reaching anybody. You're just thinking about doing the thing that you dreamed of doing. If you follow what in your internal compass is
Mhm.
pulling you toward, the outreach of that, it's just a domino effect. It's not even, you don't even have to put any effort into it. It just happens.
Yep.
And I think that is the beauty of this world. And especially I mean, you can attribute that to anyone that's like top in their field. They
Yes.
put the work in, they have answered the call to pursue what makes them happy, but the ripple effect of how that inspires a multitude of people,
Yes.
that's it. That's what it is.
Right. The fact that what lights us up is our purpose, and in turn, we get to impact so many people by doing what makes us happy
Yeah.
is incredible. And that's a perfect segue into Pitch Perfect and how that came into your life. First of
Yeah.
all, you're iconic. I'm sure you know that. I vividly remember in eighth grade going to the movie theater and seeing that movie with my eighth grade besties. And that is
So much.
so cool. So tell me everything. How did that come into your life?
It's wild. Funny segue, actually. Speaking of Spring Awakening being one of my huge inspiration stories, I saw that 6 years before I got hired into Pitch Perfect. Skylar Aston was in the cast of Spring Awakening. I'll have to send you this picture and you could maybe like put it in to the screen. I have a picture with Jonathan Groff and Skylar's in the background. And it's just that weird moment in life where you go, I had no idea. We were in the literal same orbit and now we're working together. It was just why I remember being very excited when I got cast and I was like, Skylar Aston's gonna be in this. Then, oh my God, the Spring Awakening guy. But before we get into that, I'll tell you how I actually got the job. So I told you I went to LSU and I studied theater there. And I graduated in 2011, which I guess you were in eighth grade, seventh or eighth grade, which is wild. I was leaving college and there was an open call of all things. The film industry was booming at that time in New Orleans. So a lot of Hollywood productions and LA productions were coming down to Louisiana looking for college students and college students that could sing. And so they had gone to most colleges in the area, LSU, Tulane, and New Orleans. I mean, and kind of an outreach all down in the South, but mainly Louisiana. And so it was an open call. And I had just graduated and I was still in the LSU email system. So I got this email saying, like, hey, they're hosting an open call. Come sign up in the Music and Dramatic Arts building, which is where I had been the last 4 years of my
You're
life.
booking the audition at your college?
At my college, in my department
Right.
building.
Crazy.
Wild. And
Yeah.
so I went and signed up. It was a weird, like, homecoming kind of situation. I'm gonna scroll back up to school that I tried to get out of for 4 years, do a little sign up list, and we auditioned in one of the rehearsal rooms. And so the ease of it all, I felt like I owned everything because I was like, this is home to me.
Yeah.
I know this building like the back of my hand. I have performed here for the last 4 years. I know every student and teacher in here. Like, this is coming home and performing for my family on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And so they had asked us to prepare our favorite karaoke song. So of course I went in and sang Whitney Houston's "I Want to Dance with Somebody" because I said, if I'm going to do it, I better go big.
Yeah,
So
right.
I was trying to do Whitney, but thankfully it must have been good enough for the casting director. And I remember thinking to myself, I just wanted some experience. My whole trajectory was I had just gotten a waitressing job. My friend was the manager, and I begged him. I said, "You got to help me out. I'm going to go to New York, but I need to know how to wait tables and bartend because I know I'm going to have to make money while I audition and try to get on the Broadway." And, that was the whole plan. When I got this audition, the casting director, I remember Tracy Kilpatrick, she had cast Forrest Gump, these major movies where I was like, I just need to get in front of this woman. I just for experience,
Yeah.
I'm going to go audition. Maybe I can get like an extra role. And truly, I had no expectations. I just wanted experience, and I wanted this casting director to know who I was. So I showed up, I sang the song, got a call back, went in for the director, Jason Moore, sang for him, got called back again. The producers were there. We did a dance call. My jazz teacher from college taught us the combination.
Oh.
I literally was like being back in class. So I had no thoughts about doing a good job. I mean, of course I wanted to do a good job, but I didn't put this pressure on myself
Mm.
of I got to get this job, or it was just fun, and I was doing what I felt confident that I had just gotten a degree in. I was there to share what I had just accomplished in the last 4 years. I was just trying to be an extra so that I could see what filming a movie was like. I had no idea it would lead to two other movies after this, being a part of now these lifelong friends that I had looked up to before I even met them when I got the cast list. So it was just wild. So it literally started with an open call, and I answered the call and I went, and like, here we are.
Oh my gosh. So who out of the cast did you admire before filming?
Oh, of course, Anna Kendrick, Brittany Snow, Anna Camp. Rebel had just done Bridesmaids, and so it was that time in Hollywood world where you didn't know her name yet, but everyone was like, "That's the funny girl from Bridesmaids."
Uh-huh.
I remember being like, "Oh my God, the funny girl from Bridesmaids! I'm working with her." I had watched Anna Camp in the series True Blood. I was a True Blood fanatic on HBO, and she had a killer role, no pun intended. It's a show about like vampires and
Right,
all this
right,
stuff. And so I just remember being like, "Oh my gosh, Anna Camp from True Blood's going to be in." Of course, I knew who Kendrick was from the Twilight movies. Like everything they had done. Brittany from her thrillers and Hairspray,
right.
like all the movies girls had done were movies that I loved and grew up with, or had seen in the last few years and been like, "Wow, that'd be so cool
Yeah.
to ever meet them, let alone work with them." And then, like I said, Skylar from Broadway, I knew who he was, and I was stoked to get to even like be alongside him and be like, "Oh my God, that's Broadway royalty. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me?" And then now we're all just like chilling at dinner and, going to rehearsals at 8 a.m. because like we're friends now. It's
Yeah.
the wildest dream come true. I was 22 years old when I got the job. And so it's like you see this sheet of paper with a cast list and and a call sheet, and something. It's like, I know life's about to completely turn upside down, but I also have no idea what's happening.
When your idols become your colleagues, it's so wild. So did you have any imposter syndrome?
Not in that moment. I think I developed a little bit of it going into the second movie. In the first movie, I was just so happy to be there.
Mhm.
I was a wide-eyed new kid in school, you know, these giant cameras, Elizabeth Banks producing, Jason Moore, he did Les Mis and Shrek. Like, I was just like, I'm just happy to be here and I don't want to mess this up. So I'm just going to stand back.
Mhm.
You tell me what you need me to do, and I'm going to do that and just like soak this in. So the first one was just this Disneyland kind of experience for me, where just everything was exciting and new. There was no ounce of work about it. It was just the best time of my life. 3 years later, the second movie came about, and so you have this, I guess, in production, people know me now.
Mhm.
People, they've worked with me. I am now a colleague. I am now a coworker. I'm not, oh, the cute girl that can show us around Baton Rouge and help us navigate
Yeah.
where we're staying.
Yeah.
I'm now, I've leveled up, but I still felt like the girl who was from Baton Rouge that answered this open call thing. So I think that's kind of where the imposter syndrome started coming in, of like, they think I'm like on their level, and I don't agree. Where that was my own journey of, I had to build that confidence in myself to be like, oh, I do, there's a reason I got this role
Yeah.
at the start, and there's a reason they called me to come back. That's a huge feat in itself. That's not something that I am owed. We're not owed anything in this industry or in this life, and so that's why you have to go in with that level of gratitude, like we were saying in that spirituality and inner child thing of, you have to remember that that kid is still there going, this is the coolest thing in the world
Yeah.
you know
What did you learn from your castmates?
I've learned so much from them, separately and collectively. Me and my friend Kelly Jekyll, we were both actually just went hiking with her the other day. It was so wonderful. We all, it's been 10 years later, literally, we're about to have the 10-year anniversary of the release of the first movie at the end of
God.
September. A lot of relationships, especially when you leave school, just don't last that long. You meet people and you work, or them for a time, and then your lives get busy, or you go on to the next. And so it's incredible that these women that I've known for 10 years, that are dear, dear friends, I think they would be surprised to know how much they've inspired
Mm.
my life and my journey. Rebel Wilson is such a businesswoman at heart. She's got a law degree. Like, she's an exquisite human. I think she's now being able to present that in the industry. She got into it as like, I'm the funny big girl, haha, I'll make you laugh. And when you get to know her, it's like the layers that she has and the execution. And she really taught me how to make a character your own and really own a character. And, even writing for yourself. I would sit there and watch her while they were getting a shot set up. She'd be writing lines for herself to try out. And, like, the ad libs, I didn't know you could ad lib. Not every set is that way, but we had a wonderful set where we would do the script version for all three movies. We have amazing, trusting directors of these actors,
Mhm.
where they go, okay, let's do a take where, like, you can kind of say some things you want to say. And Rebel really took charge of that. And that was my first lesson from someone like her, of like, wow, you can really enhance a character. You
Yeah.
can be a part of a collaboration that I didn't realize as an actor you could even do. I thought you go hit your mark, you say your lines, you shut up, and you go back to your trailer until you're called for. Esther Dean, I call her Queen Dean, because she has taught me so much about life. And she's a songwriter. Like, she writes for everybody. Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, Kelly Clarkson, Katy Perry. She would be sitting there writing a song. These women just work so hard. I didn't know.
Yeah.
These are the things I watched. There'd be wonderful moments of just sitting, like, the camera's on Anna Kendrick and she's talking to all of us and having this heartfelt moment. And I just get to sit there and observe a master class.
Mhm.
It's just wild, of like, these were the things I learned on that set. And fingers crossed, if we potentially have more to do. In my age, I'm now more interested in, like, okay, well, how does the camera and DP department work? How does the director and producer side work? I want to be, I've seen the actor side, and I love soaking that up. But now I'm like, now I want to see this broader picture of what these people that we admire, how I've grown. I want to learn that. And I love learning and through experience. Training in class is great and you learn so much in that way, but there's really nothing like being on the job,
Oh, of course.
to like real because every job is different, and you learn something new in a nuanced way. How different people shine and work on the job. I feel like I'm just talking, talking, talking.
No,
I have so much to say. I'm so inspired.
I love it. So your plan was to move to New York, and then you became a movie star. So how much did that change your trajectory when it came to theater, Broadway, or just what you saw as possible for yourself?
Completely changed everything. It literally flipped it upside down for
Yeah.
me. Because like I said, the plan was to go straight to New York. A lot of my friends from college that had graduated before me, they were up in New York. We had this whole plan. Like, I'm coming to live with you. We're gonna go to auditions together, and we're gonna take class at the Broadway Dance Center. And like the whole thing was mapped out. And when I did Pitch Perfect, all of my connections came from LA. And LA was never even in my mind. I had visited once when I was 12 years old and I loved it. It was great. But I was like, I'm not really a beach person. And I don't really know what you do in LA. Like, I went to Rodeo Drive. I don't know. Do you like, it's like Pretty Woman. That's all I knew about LA. And so when I met basically the only people that I really knew in the industry, professionally in the industry, I went and I took a trip to come visit everyone and ended up staying for a week and going, I really think I like this vibe. I like the laid backness. I like that I could have my car. The weather's great most of the year. And I ended up, one of the guys that was in the Troublemaker group was from Orange County and he moved to LA at the same time. And so we were like, well, why don't we find a place together?
Oh,
And
nice.
for me, yeah, for me, it was one of those things of I came out here to visit and all the stars just kind of aligned too easily to ignore.
Yeah.
Found a roommate, we found an apartment, the timing worked out. I had money to do it.
Hmm.
And 2 months later, I packed my car and I drove cross country and I was like, I'm going to try LA. And it really, because like I said, in my head, Broadway was the first goal. And I thought I'd always wanted to do movies and film, but I thought that would come much later in my career. That was my plan.
Yeah.
So, what is that phrase? Like God laughs at your plans.
Yeah.
Well, he laughed at mine real hard. So he was like, you're going to do the polar opposite
Right.
of what you actually thought was going to happen. So yeah, that's kind of how that came about.
I struggle with the balance of planning and allowing.
It's human nature to want to have some semblance of control.
Hmm.
And I'm a person that deals with anxiety and depression, and it's like that's part of probably being an artist because we're so in tune with our emotions.
Right.
Our emotions is like, oh my god, they take over. And I've had to learn that balance of like, I am not my emotions, I have emotions. I am not my anxiety, I have anxiety. I think that is part of the work, in
Mhm.
my opinion, especially as an artist, because and it just as a person in general of finding that balance, because it won't be the same for everyone. Putting that energy focus and especially getting out of my own head. That's probably my biggest thing in terms of manifesting, where
Uh-huh.
what just gets me out of my head. And it's like you have to be action oriented, and that feeling of like, oh, am I ready? Am I not ready? Like that's the thing I have to go, well, ready or not, let's take a step.
Right.
And I didn't realize, I thought, and in the beginning, I was like, what is this energy that everyone's talking about? What's this like mystic, magical energy that everyone's like sipping from? And I'm like, oh, it's literally just like what you're putting forward
Right.
out of you. Oh, okay. And then all of a sudden that leads to the next thing where you're checking off things on your list that you didn't, and it's happening fast. It's just wild. So that's the kind of stuff I'm really, really into
Something
lately.
that I've been doing lately, just purely for fun, anytime that I think of someone
Mhm.
and I would just love to either have a conversation with them or work with them or know them. And I don't limit myself. It can be anyone. I put their
Yeah.
name in my contacts and I just allow it. And the ways in which contacts that I've made, their information comes in,
Yes.
people that I didn't even think of but would love to know,
Yeah.
somehow their contact comes into my phone. It is so exciting.
That's
It's a game.
brilliant. I'm taking that.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
And then you start to notice how much we limit ourselves, because I'll think of someone like, oh, I would love to work with them or know them or whatever, and I go, oh, put them in the phone, and then I go, oh, no, 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 how would that happen? And that's us getting in our own way. Like, I'm just putting their name in my phone.
Just what you said. It's when you focus on the how something's going to happen, you immediately lose
Yeah.
because it's focus on the why you want
Well, this
to
book.
happen.
Have you read this book?
Asking it is given. No,
Do you follow the Abraham Hicks work?
no.
Oh my gosh.
Learning so much. Give me more.
This book is so incredible, and it's all about that, like, our job is not the how, our job is to ask. And
Yeah,
that, and you know what I mean? We get in our own way.
yeah.
Terrifying if we actually realize how much we stop ourselves in life and how,
It
you
is.
know,
And it's the thing of when you actually start seeing that in physical form in real time, you start to believe the possibilities. The hardest step is starting, right?
yeah,
In my opinion,
yes.
where it's like, because that's where the faith comes in. Like you just have to know or just believe enough to take the first step. And then as you start to gain that momentum, everything sort of just follows through because you're like, well, I've done that. So I can, you can just base it on experience. But when you're sitting there thinking, having those limiting beliefs of like, well, who am I to even try? Or no one care, like, how would that even happen? It's like, that's not our job.
Not a
I
job.
I love to think about it in terms of like of a job where it's like that's
Right.
not my job. And I feel like it's
Or,
easier for me to release the weight of that of like, well, what is my job? Oh, to put something into action.
yeah.
I can do that.
And what if we think that the people who we're so impacted by, what a disservice it would be if they got in their way to the point where they weren't putting out their art. And
Yeah,
we could be that person for someone else. So
yeah,
I think of it as almost like an act of service, you
yeah,
know? And us getting in our own way is not only cruel to ourselves and our inner child and our gifts, but literally cruel to who could be impacted by what we have to say.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
If your 20-year-old self saw you today, what would she say?
Oh, what she'd actually say, she'd probably be like, what's happening? She'd be very loud and screaming. I've done this a lot because it reminds me to be present, or reminds me to be grateful of where I am when I feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough, or I'm still not where I want to be, quote, technically. Um, but I think she would just think how dang cool like my life is.
Yeah.
I was talking to my mom the other day, and I don't remember what we got on about, but she was just like, wow. Oh, because I just made 10 years in LA. And she was like, wow, 10 years. Can you believe all the stuff you've gotten to do? You have to look in that hindsight. Don't base your forward experience on what's happened in the past, but have gratitude for what has happened. Yeah, I've gotten to move out to Los Angeles, California. I've walked up to the Hollywood sign. I've performed at the Hollywood Bowl.
You have?
I have. Yeah, I performed in Beauty and the Beast in 2018, I
Oh
believe.
my gosh.
Yeah, and so
What role were you?
I was in the ensemble. So it
Amazing.
was a cool kind of collaboration. I was in the Disney Di Cappella group at that time, and we were going on a national tour, and we had just like uh, recorded our first album, and so we opened for the show.
Wow.
Uh, but we
That's
also got to be in the ensemble of the show. Wild enough, Rebel Wilson was in that show.
oh
So
my
it's like I also got to perform with a friend
yeah.
while performing in this new group of friends it was wild. Truly, those things where you're like, I've always wanted to perform, ever since knowing what the Hollywood Bowl was.
Yeah.
always wanted to perform on that stage. Now I get to, and not only am I doing that, but I'm doing it with friends that I know, with people, new friends that I'm making. I'm an opening act. It just, the expansiveness. It's
Yes.
always bigger than you really think about. And it's the thing too where you're like, how would I ever be able to plan that? How
Yeah.
would I myself
Yeah.
be able to make that happen? No, I just got to go and pursue my dreams and like let it happen because they want it to be awesome.
Right. Right. And we get rewarded by stepping into our power and our purpose.
Yeah,
But I have been thinking lately what a blessing it is to have the ability to, because there are so many people all over the world where they
yeah,
live or what their situation is with a lot of different things that they might have the dream, but they don't have the access and the ability. So we
yeah,
must not, with all the privilege we have, we must not take advantage of any of it.
absolutely. Absolutely. You're so right.
At this point in your life and career, what are the dreams?
Well, I still have the dream of Broadway because I haven't, I'd love to make my Broadway debut as many stages as I've been on. That's one that still needs to be checked off.
Yeah.
But it's funny how it changes where I'd love to originate a Broadway role. And whether that means stepping into a replacement role or just getting in there. I just want to be on Broadway, but it's definitely a goal to originate a Broadway role. New goals, I've been writing a lot. My longtime partner and we've been writing scripts together. So there's a new goal of we're creating a production company
Nice.
where, and like, when I tell you that wasn't even on the list
Hmm.
10 years ago, I didn't think I'd want to do that. I didn't think I'd be in a position of power or empowerment in myself to think that I'd be capable of doing that. But especially living in this time where so many people create their own content, big and small. I don't think there's actually any small content anymore.
Yeah.
We live on these tablets where everything is entertainment now or knowledge or information. So yeah, creating a production company for ourselves because I definitely narrowed the focus in my acting career of when you're starting out, you're like, I'll do everything. I don't care what I do. It doesn't matter what the story is. And I definitely have empowered myself to want to focus on the stories that mean something to me. I love delving into psychological stories or mental health stories. Those are very important topics for me, but also like fun escapism, like musical theater, music
Right.
and dancing. These are very specific genres that's what I want to focus on right now. And then in 10 years, who knows? I might be making a huge drama that, I never thought I'd want to actually be a part of. So those are kind of the immediate goals right now.
What advice would you give to someone who's an aspiring TV, film, Broadway performer?
I used to give the advice, and I would stick by this about 50% now. I'd give the advice to show up. I'd say always show up. That's 80% of the battle is showing up to class, audition, showing up for yourself. I now would latch on to that, create your own content or create your own whatever.
Yeah.
That thing that you're curious about, that really makes you giddy and happy or excited, make it, because we are now in a world of show me. It's, you can talk to people about what you want to do, you can tell people, whatever it is, but if you're not showing somebody, because like I said, we're living on these phones and tablets, everything is visual.
Hmm.
Make it. I don't care if it's bad, good, whatever you think about it, it's always going to be better than you think it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
And so just make it. Get your friends together. Do it yourself. We've all got ring lights and phones. Start talking to people.
Hmm.
And because it is about connection. At the end of the day, we want connection. And that's how we do this.
Hmm.
So make your stuff, make what you want to make. Don't worry about what people are going to say, because at the end of the day, they're not taking the chance on themselves to go for their goals, and you are. So go for it.
Beautiful. I always end on this question. It's a little heavy, but I love it. What
Yeah,
do you want your legacy to be?
great question. What do I want my legacy to be? It's not, it's not as heavy for me, where I just want to make people happy. I want to provide a source of joy and light to people. And so, if at the end of my life, very, very, very long down the road, um, people go, wow, Shelley Regner really always made me smile or could really make me laugh, I've done my job.
Beautiful. Well, I'm so excited to see everything that you continue to do. Thank you so
Yes, I'm really excited actually because I have, it's not a Broadway debut, but it is a solo concert debut at 54 Below in New York City. And it's going to be Tuesday night, November 8th at 9:30 p.m. If you go to my Instagram or Twitter or Facebook at Shelley Regner, I have a Linktree link and you can get tickets there. And so if anyone's in the area in New York or you need to fly out, um, I would just be so excited because it's going to be such an amazing night of, I've got pitch perfect stories that I'll share and,
cool.
different life lessons that I've learned all while singing, genres, 80s, 90s, and 2000s pop rock songs and like fun contemporary musical theater songs. So it's going to be an awesome night. I'm also, if this goes well, I am hopefully gonna bring that into like a small national tour. So it'll be out in LA and everything. But right now, November 8th, Tuesday night, 9:30 p.m. at 54 Below. Come see my solo concert.
Yay! Amazing. When you're in LA, I'll definitely be there.
Absolutely. You have to be. You're a
Yes,
must.
of course, of course. That's so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited. It's definitely been a bucket list
Yeah.
check off because I got to actually see Ben Platt perform there
Hmm.
years ago, like probably 2015 or something. And it was my first time there. And I was like, this is such an awesome venue. And I mean, of course, the Broadway names that have gone through and
Yeah.
sang on that stage is just
Yeah.
wild. I'm like, oh my gosh, to be a part of that community.
I just went to Green Room 42 for the first time.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
my singing teacher Desi Oakley, she was actually on Behind the Resume.
Oh,
Um,
I love it.
I don't know if you know her.
Yes, I do. I do. I know of her, not personally, but
Yeah,
yeah.
she's incredible, and she wrote a musical and was debuting the music at Green Room 42. So I flew out to see it. It was so cool. Obviously,
Incredible.
witnessing her magic and being there, but being in that iconic room, and so that's so full circle that you've seen a performance there and are now getting to perform. That's really
Yeah, yeah. I'm really, really excited. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
amazing. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. It was so great to see you and connect.